A podcast where we highlight all things positive on and off the table. And tonight we have some very special guests rejoining us and new guests that are joining us from Canada. We got Steve Fernandez of New York Tri-State Arm Wrestling, Dan the Hat Centrella, and we got Ian the Grippler Carnegie up from Mac. And joining us for the first time ever, we got Gina, Maddie, Will, and Brandon from Team London. What is up, everybody?
Not too
Hello.
much.
What's going on?
Hello.
What's up, Team London? What's going on?
Oh,
So,
not much.
Team London.
Get ready.
Nice.
So, Team London is going to be participating in hosting the next Mac Challenger Series. So that they're going to be Mac Challenger Series 3, and we're really they've been grinding hard, and securing 50 super matches. I think they have like 7 spots left, if any.
Yeah, we're just under 10 spots left now. We're closing up fast, man.
Closing up fast, and in such a short period of time, because we just came off of Match 4. Ian, tell us the good, the bad, the ugly of Mac 4.
Well, to Team London for working so hard to get the venue and matches together. I told them right before we were going to do this. I said, guys, I normally have a lot more hands-on with the Challenger Series, but because Mac 4 is coming in so soon, like they really had to like take the lead. You know what I mean? And they've been awesome.
Yeah.
They've been incredible.
Honestly, it's been such a group effort. Honestly, like we've had so many moving pieces involved in this. Like between the 4 of us and the crew we got at London coming out to help us make the day run, and I mean you guys at Mac, JJ and Matthias and Ian, like everybody's kind of been a big help in making this thing come together. So yeah, like it's been a learning experience, that's for sure. But we're glad to be able to do it. And yeah,
it's a lot of logistics, guys? It's a lot of logistics, eh? A lot of people think a Challenger Series, it's not a Mac numbered event. It's still a ton of work, isn't it?
Oh yeah, absolutely.
And the amount of matches.
Nice, though.
What's that?
I'm just saying it's been pretty nice. It's honestly been a really great experience, and even though like it's a lot, we've been handling it pretty well. It's been pretty good. We're definitely looking forward to it.
Yeah, I mean, I'm super stoked about it. London, I used to live in London, and so I'm really excited to see Crazy George back on the table with Rick Barbet and all the legends that exist down there. London is a very, very underrated. Like people don't realize just the crazy talent that has come out.
Seriously, arm wrestling in London, the history of arm wrestling in London, man, it runs so thick and so deep, and we're so honored to be able to train with these guys that we train with like twice a week, every week. And I mean, now that they're willing to come out and compete on the main stage again for us for our tournament, means a lot to us. And I mean, even the names that we have coming down that used to train with London back in the day, they're coming out again just because arm wrestling's coming back to London, right? And this is a new exciting event, and they're intrigued. So yeah, the names that we have coming out are just it's been a humbling process in that aspect for sure.
I was really impressed.
I know you guys got a lot of names, a lot of people coming out, and one of the names that sticks out to me is Crazy George. And I don't know if anybody who knows anything about arm wrestling, Crazy George is a staple in North America, and that's going to be an amazing gentleman to have on your card. What are other matches, other names that you guys got, that you're looking forward to have to put them on display?
We do have
go through all of them. I don't want perspective.
Who is that? with a new upcoming name. I mean, I say new, but he's coming back and he's having a matchup with Joseph Spoljar, who is also a big name, around Ontario for sure. Those guys have kind of been going back and forth over the years, so it'll be a very exciting match to see. That's for sure. Trying to think of some of the other bigger
Rick
names.
Barbet is a legend too, guys. We can't forget about him.
Absolutely.
There you go. Yeah.
But honestly, the Josh Rodriguez, Joseph Spolja, like that could be a MAC numbered event match. You know what I mean? Like that's a big match.
That's definitely, yeah. They're both ranked in
So-
Ontario, so they just haven't pulled in a while.
Well, one of the things that actually, so I've been talking to a couple people because, these Challenger Series are a really great opportunity for all walks of arm wrestling to participate in the sport, from, amateurs all the way up to seasoned athletes that have been around for a while. And I had a person say, "Oh, I don't think I'm deserving of a match yet." And I was like, "This is the place where you deserve a match, so you can see where you stand and see and get more experience."
That's correct. Yeah.
And that's one of the things that I love about what we're doing is in different parts of the nation to kind of pop up the talent that somebody who may not be able to have the opportunity to get themselves to a higher level event, but they want that high level feel and exposure, and we're working together to do so. That being said, is there any names that are kind of nobody knows who they are, but they're gonna know who they are come September 20th?
Sam Noller.
Okay.
Sam Noller, he's a really big, he's rising up pretty good right now. He's in the 154, but he's just been cleaning up at the tournaments that he goes to. And we have him matched up with Evan. And Evan is he's also doing very well for himself as well. They're both, I think, 18, 19.
Got it. Youngsters. So people like Steve Fernandez can tune in and watch the show and say, "Hey, that's a guy I may want to invite to my next event."
Exactly.
And that's the whole goal of this. That's the whole goal, I think, of this, right, Ian?
Yeah, 100%.
I'm pretty sure me and Ian are on the same page with looking at different, I would say different matches, different, I would say promoters to see what type of matches they put together and who they're pulling. I mean, I look at Ian's matches and everything, and who does the matchmaking when they have like those ridiculous matches. That's who I'm looking for, and I'm sure he's looking back and saying, you know what, I need to have this guy on the stage because he's that good, and that's what I look for. I mean, and it's all over. I mean, I do it all the time. I have 11 super matches now in September 20th, and probably right after everything's done and said and done, I'm probably going to watch Mac and enjoy it and thoroughly go through all the matches and see. I like these new up and comers. I actually have two new up and comers that pull really good, about 16 to 18. So I was looking for another match for this kid too. So it'd be nice to give him another match. They're both really good. So we'll see, And then there's somebody else that I've been wanting to 140 pounder with, And if you guys have somebody that's light but is an absolute monster, I'd love to put him up against them,
That's excellent. That's exactly what, when I watch Steve's matches, that's what I'm looking for too, right? Like, who does he got? And who is he showcasing? And do they fit what we're doing? And generally the answer is yes, almost every time. Like, Steve isn't just putting out like amateur guys, they're like from novice, amateur, and pro, and that is exactly the same um like formula that the Challenger series is. So I don't know why Steve wouldn't use it as a as a tool for himself, as to like a way to poach new talent for his shows. And I do the same.
Yeah, I agree.
Because at the end of the day, it's arm wrestling. Is it a bit different? Of course it is. But when the ref says go, it's the same. You get what I mean?
You put the same work in either which way to get the guy down to the pin pad.
That's it.
Um,
Get him down.
So, real quick, I just want to shout out a couple people in the chat. We got the Drew24. What's up, man? Thank you for tuning in. He's always in every chat that I've ever seen. Joshua Harrington, Weakrest Arm Wrestling Club. What's up? And Robert Kelly. What is going on, man? Thank you for tuning
What's up,
in.
Robert? How you doing,
Appreciate it. And
Robert?
we got a full screen right now of absolute legends in our sport. You know, joining us, we got Tiny, one of the founders of TAWF, Table Monkeys, guys changing the game. Speaking of changing the game of arm wrestling, this man has definitely spearheaded some really amazing efforts. We'll get to talking about TAWF a little bit later, but thank you for joining us, man.
No problem. Thanks for having me. How's everybody doing?
We're good, man. We're just talking about all the different events that we got coming up. We're talking about we did a little bit of a recap of the highlights from the Mac 4 event, and then we're just excited about the matches the Challenger Series is going to be hosting, and then also some of the matches that Steve is hosting at King of the Tri-State. They're both on the same day, so talk about like two blockbuster events that are occurring on the same day.
Yeah, I don't know.
People are going to need to.
There's so many events happening that happen on the same day this year. It's crazy.
Yeah.
It's insanely. You know, great minds think alike. That's all I could say. Great minds think alike. They pick the right days, the best days, and I think that we need to start investing in split screens type of deal so people can watch both shows at the same time.
Yeah.
Well, I think with James Reed, myself, Steve, Jason, I think we should all have like a little powwow to make sure we don't do this to each other
I
again.
100%
know?
agree. It makes everything better because if it was like in the States, and you know the scene, if it's in the States because I can't go to Canada, I travel 4, 5, 6 hours to wherever the event is to make it to the event. And not only to make it to the event, but to see if I can be in VIP, up close, watch the matches, the best that I can, and then pull in the tournament. So it's I like to be there. I like to be there because that's I just show my love like you guys do, like JJ does, so it's just when Dan's got something going on, if it's Dan, I'll always be
there. Yeah, you're always there. This man travels all over the Northeast.
Yeah, you're an arm wrestling junkie, bro. We get it. And you show your support not only just by like what you say and on your pods and stuff, but you put your money where your mouth is. You buy swag, you do whatever, and we appreciate it. And honestly, dude, I am so sorry about the 20th, but honestly, like I think that was all we could do, eh, guys? In Team London, that was it, right?
Yeah, we tried to like space it out between the Picton Fair and then we knew TAWF was coming up, so we just kind of tried to space it out with having something in September. We didn't. I wasn't aware of the tri-state happening on that day either. So yeah, we tried to make sure that we spaced it out between everything, but definitely next time.
It's distance away, so it's not affecting it as much as it should. Obviously because there's a lot of pullers from Canada that are going to be there, and but it's not. It is what it is. Just like Tiny was saying, it's there's so many events that are going on all the time. It's hard not to put an event sometimes on top of another event, and you try to space them out as best as you can. Like I didn't want to be a week before New England's, but I already lost my spot last month because James had like 2 or 3 events that he had going on, and I didn't want to step in between another event or his event. So I was like, you know what? Let me do it in September. So it's like, I get it. It happens. It's hard.
Yeah, like Steve, it's never malicious. Like it was never,
that's what
you
what I
know.
was trying to say was that it's not only is it hard to space it out if you know all the events, but it's hard to even know all the events because there's
I agree.
so many, and like you're paying attention to a region, but everybody like the regions are all starting to connect because the arm wrestling is growing. You know what I mean? So
yeah. which is honestly great.
In a way, it's good problems. It's good problems to have.
Yeah, I was gonna say. I was just talking about this with James, and in a way, to tell you the truth, it's great because it's getting so big that it's expanding to different countries that were close enough to say these things. Imagine if it wasn't like before and we
Yeah.
didn't have these problems. I mean, it's so. I think it's great that we have this
Yeah,
issue and these problems. You know,
that's a
it's
good point.
you know.
That's a really good point. Because before, no one would have cared. You're doing your thing in the States, we're doing it in Canada. It wouldn't be a problem. But now, because the community is growing and the interest level is growing, that we are drawing from each other's nation. You know what I mean? Interest. So it's a problem, but it might be a
Yeah,
Yeah,
I
positive
think
problem too.
in the end, both events will be busy. Like everybody will have people.
yeah, yeah, so I think it'll be great either way. I think more events, honestly, that they come out with, I think it's better. It's just going to push arm wrestling to the next level for everyone to love it and they'll understand what it's all about. The more it's out there, the better it is. So it's just going to get better like that, so, but like,
Agreed.
Ian was saying, if we can see what to do to space out, if we can, then we will. If we can't, then it is what it is. It's we try to do what we can.
What was that?
He's saying if we could all just space it out, if we
Oh,
all
yeah,
can work
no, I got
together.
that. I got that. I thought someone else was trying to talk in the background. Never
Yeah,
mind.
that's what I heard too. I heard somebody else talking afterwards.
Yeah. Listen, collaborating and working together on figuring out a better schedule that spaces things out sensibly is one thing. But here's the other thing, like Ian was alluded to before, that Mac is niche within the sport of arm wrestling, right? So there's going to be, flavors that people
Yeah.
want, that they're going to want access to. And while I don't want any promoter to step on another promoter's toes, I do like the idea of options. I like the idea as the sport grows, those options increase. And we have the availability now to do so, I think. And the sport is growing. The participation in the sport is growing simultaneously with the endeavors and efforts that we all have. So,
Yeah, but at the same time, we are pulling. I don't want to sound like you know like going against or being negative, but we do use the same athletes,
yeah,
right?
as of
So
now,
we have to make sure that we have to make sure we're being fair, so that because like if let's say for example, um, let's say Steve wants to use Spolja. He's going to look at Joseph and he's going to be like, you know what? That guy is a great arm wrestler. Well, if he's going to hire him on a Saturday, say in October, and then we want to hire him the next weekend, it's a little unfair. Like we have to make sure.
yeah,
Absolutely,
Do you get what I'm
absolutely,
saying? That we
100%.
give
You can,
because even though it's technically a different sport, it's still
that, yep,
the same,
no, 100%. I agree with you,
Well,
and he's
there's
right.
yeah,
So we just
Yeah,
have to
yeah.
have better communication.
Yeah,
Of
definitely, definitely. I couldn't agree more. It better communication. More done when we're going to do these things to make sure that. And I agree with him because if he wants to use Miguel Fernandez or Bigfoot on one of his stages or Joe or anything like that, like he's used Joe before,
yeah,
obviously too. So that shows you right there. I used Joe myself. Which was what last weekend, 2 weekends ago. And he did a phenomenal job. So it's just these type of things, and he's right. More
it's
communication.
also going to be a situation. It's also going to be a situation of where like competition breeds success a little bit, where you kind of push people to the top because athletes are going to pick who they want to pull with, and if they're given a situation like that where there's this one on this weekend and this one on the other weekend, and they've done one for either of them before, they're going to make a decision. You know what I mean? Not on who asked them
yeah,
first as much as like who they want to go pull for more, and that's going to start making events like the same way when you like just that idea of competition breeding success is just going to make us all have to step up to the plate more and make sure that we're all like putting on events up to a certain par so that the athletes want to come to our events. And so that is how it's going to make it better. And then it's going to be better for the audience and so on and so forth. So, as much as it's about us as promoters communicating with each other, it's also just about it's going to be about the athletes choosing where they want to compete. You know,
they want to based on their also not for nothing, based on their expenses, based on their work schedules, their family schedules, and so on and so forth.
That's kind of what you said about options. If you have 3 events or 2 events that are happening, and there's a guy that's like, oh, you know what, I want to go to both, but this one is half the price for me to go to. Well, there's an easy decision as well, right? So it's there's all those reasons why it's good to have multiple. Like the more the merrier, you know. So
yeah, I agree.
And every time there's an event, even if the like if there's one event happening and 400 people go to that event, and then if there's 2 events and each get 300 people, so neither event got 400, but 600 people went to arm wrestling events. You know what I mean? For the world of arm wrestling, that's a better equation. That's what we want, right? So,
I'd rather see that, definitely.
We should all be happy with events as long as they're all busy.
As long, and we got to keep them busy, and that's what this endeavor is that I think we are keeping it busy by getting more exposure for people who don't normally get it, and they're going to be excited to go to more events now. Oh wait, I can be receiving this type of accolade from Steve, and this type of recognition from Tiny, from Ian, from Team London. I get to be a part of something bigger than myself, and it just creates more excitement. And then they're going to put it on their social media because, we had somebody in my group chat just recently say, like, I'm not on social media, so I need to know what's going on. So I want to be able to, let them know, hey, this is what's going on. We have a group chat. We'll let you know what's happening. Tune in to YouTube then. And hence why I have this specific channel on YouTube and on Facebook on 2 different pages. So it's easy to follow and accessible, because that's the other side of it, is accessibility is going to make the difference, right?
Yeah, and that's what I was made a note there while you're talking about the idea of recognizing the talent and stuff is by us all, if we're all talking as well and we're all on the same page of not like, oh, that's my athlete, this athlete, whatever, and arguing with each other, but we're all working together and collaborate and pull together, as the podcast says, then it also allows athletes to know that it doesn't matter where I go. If I perform well at Steve's event or Ian's event or Jason's event or London's event, they're all going to see it. They're all going to know about it, and they're all going to care. And I might get invited to any one of those other events at another time, right? And that's, again, going to bring more people out where it just makes everybody's event busier, because it's all of it becomes a way, like a funnel and a way to get.
It's funny you say that.
No, right?
It's funny you say that, because I was just talking to somebody about, that making a decision and pulling a certain person also, and they were asking me about Mac, and I said, look, I know Ian enough to say that you need to put this guy in your card, and he's good enough to believe me. He'll take a look at you and probably know that if I'm asking him, because I usually don't. So, and that type of thing, that type of knowing also, having that type of experience and having these type of pullers like you're saying, because they've seen the type of platform that you guys have, they want to be on it. So just by them knowing someone else to help them be on that type of platform, so it's just going to make everyone better. It's just going to make everything grow a lot faster, so
that's what makes you a good promoter, right? Like when you cross pollinate and we start talking behind the scenes, and and we get work for other guys, that's what the athletes want. They want an opportunity to pull multiple leagues and get hired, essentially, right?
Right.
And so
the big thing is travel too. Like I was just thinking as you're saying that, like the idea of London hosting an event is there's not a lot of events out there. There's a lot of people that don't get to events because there aren't any around them, So again, the more that we host, the more somebody goes, oh, I didn't realize there was one in my area. Every time I looked, it was 6 hours away or 10 hours away or whatever. So
Well,
That
and
was
that's what
honestly
the
one of our
endeavor of this is, to highlight that, the local events that are happening by people here and local to me, but also local to your viewers. So if you post that you're going to be on a podcast, you can talk a little bit more about it instead of just posting something on social media. Because I mean, I gotta be honest with you, I'm a pretty lazy individual. If I'm not listening to something, I'm probably not going to read it. I'm not going to really read a post, a lot of words on it. I know I've posted some of those things, but I doubt everyone reads everything that I write, right? And that's why I like having a podcast so that people can actually see it and hear about it. Say, hey, wait, they're talking about my neighborhood, or they're talking about London. Wait, he's not even from there, but he's talking about it. Let me see what's going on, and then that's why it starts up a conversation.
And then you get
that
guys
was
like
honestly
Dan
one of our biggest
Centrella.
drivers of wanting to take on this Mac series here in London, because like being competitors from London, we know how much travel is involved in competing in Ontario alone, like we
Yeah.
spent the first year going to just about every, thing we could find out there. And yeah, that definitely stacks up. So we know, especially like even Windsor side, the pinheads down there, Michigan has a hard time coming up to the state or coming up to Canada to compete up here. So we know we're such a central location, for so many of these little clubs that don't really, get to travel outside of what's, close to them for, competitions. And we were hoping for like a good outreach for this. And I mean, yeah, like we have people coming from Michigan, we have people coming from Windsor, we have people coming from Hamilton, from Toronto, from like way up north, from New York. Like, yeah, like the amount of people coming from different places has been awesome. And it's going to make it a truly special event, right? Like, even just being able to see new pullers you don't typically see on a card like this, right? So it definitely gives people a step up in it.
Yeah, that's one of the things about this sport that's one of the things about this sport like once you start to nerd out about it and once you get really into it is how much everybody, like every new puller is a different, like the way I explain it to people is like it's like a different handle at the gym or a different bar. Like, so yeah, it's the same lift, but now you're doing it with that person that's different than that person because of everything, the way they do it, their hand, all that, right? So one of the first things when you start learning arm wrestling is the more people you pull with, the better. And one of the reasons for that is so that when you get to a tournament, you're familiar. You don't get up to the table and go, "Oh, this feels completely like I'm totally unfamiliar with this." But you pull with a lot of people, the chances are you felt what you're going to feel at the table more, right? So now having more and more people come to the table, it excites experienced pullers to see a new puller because you get a chance to see, oh, how they do it that way, they do it this way, like, because it's still such a, even though it's been around for a long time, it's still such a young sport. And like Toddzilla makes the point, like we still don't even know what the ideal arm wrestling physique is because it's still so young. Like in other sports,
Yeah.
like this is an ideal tennis player, this is an ideal volleyball player. Like I would argue that that's because it's so much of a fight sport. Like there isn't an ideal boxer either or an ideal wrestler, but anyway, that's again part of the appeal to the sport is pulling new people. So again, the more it grows, the more we see new pullers, the more the more it becomes fun, right?
And even as far as spectators too, right? Like no sport is going to gain anything without spectators, right? Spectators make a sport. And I mean, we put a lot of effort into not only looking for athletes, but also reaching out to our London community, especially, and just being like, hey, like arm wrestling's the thing. It's back in London. Come check it out. Like even if you don't want to compete, like there are people that, just like watching sports to watch sports, right? And it's a new, intriguing thing, especially with what Mac's doing, it makes it, and even TAWF, like it makes it so much more interesting to watch for the viewers, right? And turning it even into like a family-friendly event, right? Like bring your kids out, watch these big burly guys, pulling each other on a table, right? Like it's a whole new, exciting world of sports for people. So it's truly special. It's pretty cool.
Great for moms to bring their kids out and the kids get to watch their mom kick some ass.
Yeah.
Like you get to prove how strong mom is. That's one of the most amazing things. Like for kids, yeah, my mom will kick your mom's ass. It's usually like my dad will kick your dad's ass type of deal. But when you get kids saying that about their mom, that's a whole nother level. And I love
Yeah,
that because
Did you
gets them
guys
a
see
little
the
excited.
miniature Mac table? Did you guys see
Oh
I
my
it?
did
The
see
god, the
that.
mini
That
Mac,
thing's
That was
awesome.
cool.
that thing is
Our
amazing.
Yeah,
our
that's
little
so
man
cool.
loves the Mac table.
Yeah.
Yeah, he does. He's hoping that it'll turn to youth someday. He absolutely loves training on it.
Well, like it's not going anywhere. I mean, honestly, and I know that there are other leagues. I don't want to speak on those leagues right now because they're in the decision process, but they're looking at doing it Mac tables, Mac rules. We might have to we might have to change the name of so like we like instead of saying Mac tables, Mac rules, like it's got to be a form of arm wrestling on so that people don't always say like if you're towel and you want to do it you could say it's this. You get what I mean?
Yeah, I get what you mean, but I
Yeah.
don't agree.
You don't agree? You think it should
No,
always
I
be
say
max?
I say that like I was even thinking about that as I was talking as I'm scripting out the some of the commentating and stuff for Tough, and I was like, I don't want the commentators to be like, well, in regular arm wrestling they do it this way, but
Yeah.
here we do it like this. I want them to just be like, this is arm wrestling, this is how we do it. If this is what you've seen and this is what you think arm wrestling is, that's how it is. When you go see something else, you might be like, why do they do it that way? You can go figure it out. That this is arm wrestling as far as I'm concerned. I don't think we
Oh,
need to
that's
Mac
compare
style.
ourselves to another sport. We're saying that this is how arm wrestling is done, in our opinion. Doesn't mean that that is not arm wrestling. That can you can consider that arm wrestling too, but this is how we
yeah.
do arm wrestling. It's the same thing as like the
Well,
AFL and the NFL. They both were playing football, but the rule or NFL and CFL they're both playing football, but they are kind of different sports, but they're still
yeah.
both football, right? So
Yeah.
it's I don't and how often in the NFL or in the CFL would they be like, oh, here we do it like this, but in the NFL they do it like that, right? So if we're on a Mac table, that's arm wrestling.
Okay.
It's not this other thing. It's arm wrestling.
Okay.
That's mine. But I do agree with you. It is different, and I'm just making that point of like that's us like standing the ground of like we're not gonna like I don't want to be like, oh sorry, that's arm wrestling and we're doing our other own little thing over here. It's like
Yeah, I'm just trying to figure out if there's because Mac is a brand, right?
mm-hmm.
And I'm trying to say like if Steve changes it to Mac tables and Mac uh you know he should be able to call it something that and not have to always brand us. Does that make sense?
that I understand what you're saying of like but at this I mean at the same time that's I mean what like that's kind of like Kleenex. Like Kleenex isn't tissue paper, but it's known as Kleenex. Like
Oh, okay,
why
yeah.
ruin that if you get to be Mac and then everybody knows? Oh no, it's a Mac table. Oh, I thought you mean an arm wrestling table. No, a Mac table because that like
The Mac
like
style. It's Mac
yeah.
style. It's New York Tri-State arm wrestling, but it's Mac style tournament, or it's Mac of Mac style. You don't have to say Mac table, Mac rules. It's Mac style, like bare
Yeah.
knuckle style or UFC style fighting. You
Well,
know,
arm wrestling as it is, everybody knows that it's arm wrestling. I'm just saying,
Yeah.
but it is a Mac table. A Mac, Ian is the
Yeah.
one that made that table with his whole crew. I mean, that's a Mac table. You know what I mean? But it's not like I would say you would have to follow any particular rules. Just like Ian was saying before, you could say you're going New York Tri-State arm wrestling. You're still arm wrestling, but you're doing it on a Mac table. I mean, that's nor here nor there. I mean, I don't think you can call that table anything else but a Mac table, and you arm wrestle on it. But I would say, just like he was saying though, you can also have New York Tri-State arm wrestling and obviously having arm wrestling on a Mac table.
And it doesn't have to be affiliated. You could be a standalone league. You get what I mean?
I
And
agree. I agree.
Yeah,
yeah,
I agree with that too. I think that makes it a little bit more open ended by way of experience because not for nothing, the exact breakdown of the MAC rules. Yeah, not every league
You're
may
welcome.
like that, but they like arm wrestling on the table, right?
Right. That's a
Um,
particular table. That's a great
yeah.
table. I mean, that's a Mac table. That's
Yeah, I was
that's the
just
way I
wondering
see
as
it.
you're saying this, what else would you call it, Ian? If it wasn't a Mac table, what would you want to call it?
Yeah,
Like,
I don't know. I don't have the answer to that, right? But I mean, does everybody who uses a WAF table do they have to mention, like, do you ever mention WAF in your tri-state area events? Do you say these are WAF tables? Do you ever feel the need to do that?
No, but we
no,
usually
because
do draft rules though.
you
Okay.
do mention that it's WAF rules, yeah, because the rules do vary enough between this league and this federate, whatever, like this tournament, that tournament, that people do specify the rules a lot for sure
Yeah.
because and that's part of the deal with the sport. The sport is still young enough. I mean, and even that, like I made when I was talking with Ray and he was talking about Mac being a different sport, and I was like, well, I think it's just a division between amateur and pro, and I think that's what's going to end up being the distinction is that amateur arm wrestling is on a 7x7 done WAP style with these really strict rules, so you learn the fundamentals of arm wrestling, and then the pros do it on once you know how to do it, you do it here. And I use the example of like football, how there's different rules in college than there are in the NFL, and most pro sports or boxing was actually the original example that I used where I was talking about the headgear and stuff. How it's like that is literally a different sport because it's only 3 rounds. You're using headgear, versus pro boxing, but it's still boxing, right? So. I think that's just the distinction with the table is it's
Yeah.
right.
Right?
Well, I thought I heard other noise. I got
Yeah.
distracted.
I don't know.
Anyway,
Well, real quick, guys, I just want to shout out a couple people in the chat. We got quite a few people tuned in. Lucky Ones, what's up? We got Chris, one of our training partners. What's up? Representing Long Island. Eric Fist, how's it going, man? We got Sergio Lisboa. What's up? Excellent job on your event this weekend. And we had Drew Rivers from Weak Wrist. What's up, man? And as well, we got Paul Cruz. Also, Drew Rivers shouts out Maddie. Maddie is quite the energy driver at any event she's at. That scream is something that transforms the
Yeah.
entire event, in my opinion. I just wanted to shout that out myself. You know, if you're sleeping, if you're resting, if you're finding that you're in a moment, I don't think arm wrestling should ever be dull. But if there's ever a moment where you think it's dull, tune into one of her matches. You'll wake right the fuck up. It gets you riled up, ready to go.
I appreciate it very much. You know, it is what it is. It's the sport. I love it.
Oh, it shows.
There's a reason we practice on the farm.
yeah,
Oh man, but to the point, I think the evolution of sport definitely requires conversations about things like this because as things evolve, if just evolve unchecked, then problems can happen, and difference of opinion can become assumptions and so on and so forth, and you can snowball it. But if we talk about it as we are right now, we can actually kind of formulate how we want to shape the sport and see it grow, and instead of it just growing all willy nilly, throwing a bunch of pickles at the wall and hope they stick.
Do you guys know Marshall Thompson?
You had
no,
You
mentioned him
guys know him?
before.
He's a he's a promoter in Ohio, Marshall
Yeah.
Thompson. So you know what he did? Um, he bought 2 Mac tables and ran a tournament using Mac tables with WAF rules because he didn't have anybody qualified to do the refing. So, and I guess it works out. You know, you don't have to have WAF or Mac rules on a Mac table. Apparently it works even with WAF.
Oh, we have guys that at practice they just go regular, regular rules. They don't care, you know.
Yeah, it makes sense. I mean, it's like you can run Mac rules almost on a WAF table, other than like in a sense.
elbow bump.
Yeah, I mean the elbow bump if you wanted to call warning like a running warning or something. But
Yeah.
the point being that the rules can adapt to the table a bit. But yeah, that's the point before is instead of trying to decipher it all the time of like, oh, this is that. We're just arm wrestling. This is the table that we use, and and then
absolutely.
let the again the same way that I was saying about the tournaments. That the athletes, the audience, as the sport continues to grow, they'll decide which ones they like. And one thing I was thinking about the injuries again is, and another reason as people start watching, this might become more and more obvious. With an elbow pad that's elevated. Sorry, yeah, somebody's got their TV or something on. Anyway, is when the elbow pad's elevated, if you accidentally elbow foul like coming off the side or the back or something like that, your body goes through a whole 2 inches of like movement of change. You know what I mean? Like I'm pretty sure Dave Chafee's story when he broke his elbow was that it like the ref said something and then his elbow came off the pad and then his arm broke, right? Like the point is with the elbow pad not being elevated and it being about crossing the border, think about how much safer that is actually for ergonomically for as you're arm wrestling, the fact that you're not going through that difference of elevation in the middle of an arm wrestling match. You know what I mean? So it's just another example of like the sport's young. Just because it's been done a certain way on a certain table for a certain amount of time doesn't mean that.
Cerrar la puerta.
And even the elbow pad, like Devin wanting to take it even further to the freedom thing, it's part of like how people say about an athlete, like once you become a star, you're like a dining room name or whatever, or living room name, like you're talking about
household name,
right? That's the expression. Well, arm wrestling is literally a household sport. Arm wrestling is a sport you can do on the fucking dining room table. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Like you can't play basketball in the dining room. You can't play. I mean, you can throw a little football and stuff. And there's obviously little miniature versions of it, but you can actually do the sport for that's how primitive of a sport it is. That's why That's why we all as arm wrestlers are like, why isn't this fucking popular yet? It's like you literally just hold hands with somebody and now you're playing a sport. And and that.
Well, I mean, it is the only, other than tag, it is the only sport that every man or woman has participated in, right? Other than tag. So it's a globally recognized activity that now we're organizing it and creating more out of it. And I think with that being said, I just wanted to jump into a little bit more. Meaning again, we have September 20th, which is the MAC Challenger Series, which I'm really excited for Team London to have and host. And I'm going to tune into that when we're done with King of the Tri-State 2. We got King of the Tri-State 2 by Steve Fernandez coming up. My favorite thing about one of the things that Steve does is similarly to the MAC feel, you feel like family, right? You feel like family. You feel like you're, not just, family, but because he's shouting you out, he's announcing you. It's not just a tournament where people just arm wrestle. There's involvement from all different parties. And, not to blow too much smoke your way, Steve, but I'm utterly impressed by how much you single-handedly do and encourage others to do on their own in your facilities of tournaments. Like the one-man army that you are. So with that being said, you got 11 super matches. I know I'm on the card. I'm blessed to be on the card. I'm going to be helping out with the live stream for this one. Any specific highlights? I don't want you to break down every single match. We got a lot to cover tonight still. But any like 2 or 3 matches that you're like, hey guys, this is the ones you got to pay attention to. I know it's gonna be tough because you always put on bangers of like all of them are usually bangers, but any you want to highlight?
Honestly, Miguel Fernandez versus Bigfoot. That's going to be a great left-hand match at 220. That's going to be the main event. So I can't wait for that to happen. I mean, this is going to see where we're going to put, Miguel and Bigfoot actually at their necks. Miguel just won his match, and so did Bigfoot. So this is kind of like the next. We're putting together this league, so we're kind of seeing everybody else. And I've been doing these matches for long enough to actually have a league now, and so this is going to be soon a Northeast or a Tri-State Arm Wrestling League. But it's just one of the matches that people think it's going to be a blowout, which I don't think people understand and realize how good this kid is Caleb Johnson. He's gone up against, guys like like Wade Roberts, and even before that, he went up against Cam Dennett, and all these, wars that he's had before, and he's beat these guys. I mean, better than he's beat these other guys that are saying, that are that's not a match for Matt Flipton. Let me tell you something. When you have a kid like Caleb and the hunger, and because he's so young and he wants it so bad, it comes from a different part. It comes from heart, not just strength, and it comes from everywhere. And that's what I see him on the table every single time he pulls. He's one of my favorite pullers. I mean, at 16 years old, he's
for a youth, this kid's explosive as all hell. He doesn't look like much. He looks like a teenager, literally rolled out of bed, on a Sunday, ready, for Sunday cartoons or some shit. He comes on the table, and then he just explodes and rips this dude's arm off, and he's like, his expression afterwards is like, what just happened? Did I just do that? It's the funniest thing I've ever seen. I love seeing him. He's a true character.
Yeah, great match. Another one is going to be a grudge match between Ethan Sherritt and Evan James Reed. I mean, they're both very explosive. About a 190-pound match, and it's really, this is going to be a match on somebody telling the other guy was just like, I don't even know why you put me up with this guy, and then somebody else was like, what do you mean? I mean, you've never beat me before. So this is like kind of like a back and forth, a little bit of a grudge match, like going back and forth, So this is really good on the table. I can't wait for this. That's gonna be a really good match. We have Alexander and Miguel Fernandez going right. This is gonna be
that's gonna be a good one.
Yeah.
Now,
Alex
I do want to highlight, we got a Matt guy who's going to be, coming back to WAF table, Peter Brennan Jr., taking on, he's shooting up, I think, with Bo Horner, which is going to be a match. I'm sure, I don't know if anyone who on the screen knows who Bo Horner is. If you don't, you're going to know. He's a monster, absolute monster. But I'm thinking that, PBJ, he's gonna show up.
He's ranked on. Bo Horner is rated on errors. I think he's 12th, and then he's rated on in the hook. On arm fighters. I think he's about 13th or 14th. So Peter, I was looking for a couple guys, and Peter was already asking me about something that he wanted a guy that was ranked, and I was like, well, to tell you the truth, one of my guys just pulled out. I was like, so you're lucky that we're having this conversation right now. He's like, to tell you the truth, he's like, I didn't even know that you were having something. I said, so that was kind of like a meant to be type thing, and they were both 198. I needed a 198 guy, so when he reached out, it was perfect. And when we started talking about it, that's going to be one hell of a match too.
I know there's some contention about this one, though, that match, because a gentleman on screen was supposed to have a match with him. I gotta tell you, based off of, life and circumstances, like, I was supposed to go to frickin' Washington State in December, but my life and circumstances are not going to allow me to do so. So I get on both sides of the fence. I've been canceled on before, and I've had to cancel. Shit happens, man. Will, I know you were looking for that match. You're gonna have that opportunity at a later date. I promise you. I'm sure Peter is chomping at the teeth. He's not running from you. He's just running towards something that just happens to be a little easier on the life circumstances. You know what I mean?
Yeah, that's what
Oh
I
yeah,
think.
no, it's part of a sport. I do get it. I mean, I told him I'm gunning for him harder now. I'm coming for that match. That's a match I wanted. I trained really hard, coming up to that because I know that kid's no joke. He's a very serious competitor who is even come over across our side of the border and taking down some bigger names matches I've wanted as well. So yeah, no, we're squared away. He knows I'm coming for him, and we'll get that match back eventually. It is what it is.
Absolutely, man.
Yeah, and I would say the next match I'd say it would be Garrett Tupper versus Derek Doble.
That's gonna be a hell of a match.
That's at 154, and I mean that's going to be a banger.
So
Absolutely.
I want to tell you, Team London, you say you have a 154 guy to keep an eye out on. That is a monster dominating. You have to watch this match coming up, that super match, and that could be a potential crossover U.S. versus Canada type of deal because these guys are top 154 dudes. They're at the very top, and in the United States. So I would love to see, a top, U.S. international match going on.
Well,
Absolutely, and Sam, that 54 kid, he is actually going to be taking on Matt Smith, right-handed at Hiawatha tournament up north of us. So that's going to be a big matchup for him and really going to be a good test for his skill. But I definitely think that kid's got a chance at that match. But I was going to say, depending on how both those matches go, it definitely could be interesting to see if we can get that set up.
Who is that? Who's the kid?
The arm melter.
Oh, that young kid that won. Oh, yeah, he's going to get Matt Smith, and then who else? Brown Rice is going against him, I think.
I think he might be going against him on left arm, and then Sam's also facing Donald Burns.
Got it.
On left because he walked away with
Who
three
has a match
belts.
with Matt Smith? Is what I'm asking. Sorry.
Yeah, he has a match with Matt Smith on right arm.
Who does?
Sam Noller.
Okay, thank you. Yeah, that's what I wasn't sure. Okay, cool. Yeah, awesome.
Yeah.
Sam's going to go.
So,
He's a pretty great kid. He's
how old is Sam?
You got a lot of young kids up there. A lot of young kids up there. But we got young kids like Caleb, and there's a lot of young kids down here too. And we have training partners that are 17, 18, Dan, that are.
Glishaw, I mean, what's his name? Dustin too. They're young kids.
Yep.
David Nicobats. I mean, there's a couple of young kids out there that will. I mean, Garrett, I think is too much. Garrett's ranked number 5 at 154 on airs. He's an absolute beast. I like to see this kid from Canada. See how good he is.
Absolutely, I think that would be a fun one.
How old is Sam?
Sam did just win nationals this year.
How old is he?
He is 18.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, we got a couple guys. Oh, we got James, the Menace Mason in the chat. What's up, Menace? And Drew Rivers. I already had that match, and he demolished me. I'm gonna have to get a rematch to Brown Rice at some point. Definitely have a different game plan for him. I will say I'm taking on Jordan Maskell, also known as a Mountain Dog. I like to call him Mountain Pup because I went to some real mountains last week and did some training with Surrey Brown, and those guys train hard up in the mountains. They're built different. I gotta say the air is a little thinner at 6,000 feet in elevation. So I'm feeling strong. Dan can attest to it. I'm as strong as I've ever been. feeling as healthy as I've ever been. I gotta tell you know, I'm looking forward to that event, and I think that you guys, Team London and Steve with King of the Tri-State, are going to be having probably two of the best events of the year. You know, by way of something that's going to be accessible, something that's going to be, you know, that's the other thing that I wanted to share is that, you know, you like you do with the Mac events, we're moving them around all over the place. They're not in just the same place, so we can actually attract different crowds in different parts. Steve is doing his own thing by moving around in the tri-state area. He's not just staying in New York. We're going to Connecticut, which is amazing because now we can bring in more people for the tournament. People who normally wouldn't travel outside of their own state, type of deal, now can have an opportunity to come and compete. I think that right there is the mission. That's the mission that we need to all, as promoters and other event directors, have to captivate and say, hey, listen, I have a place to host something. Let's work together. And we'll either myself, Steve, Ian, Tiny, you reach out to any one of us. Sure, if you know, if it makes sense for us in our schedules, we'll try to make something happen. And I look forward to it.
Yep. I can't wait for London, but that's it. I'm not going to Canada after this. It's going to be too cold after this, guys.
We need to go down south in the tropics. You know what? Puerto Rico, take notice. When it warms up, we're all coming down to you.
Yeah. Mexico in February.
There you go. All right. So, guys, now that we got, you know, some of the highlight matches out of the way, we got the tournaments and the events out of the way that are coming up in the rest of September. You know, I'm excited for September 20th, both sides in Canada and US based. But moving forward, looking a little look ahead, we got Jason on screen to talk a little bit about TAWF 3. TAWF, or is it TAWF 4? Sorry.
Technically, it would be 3. Yeah.
Technically 3. Technically 3. And it's the first, you know, city-based teams instead of just state-based or region-based. It's city-based team. And, you know, it definitely buttons up the process a little bit. You know, you fine-tune this machine that you're, you know, going out of the floodgates with. What do you got going on? You know, let's talk a little bit about that. Let's talk about TAWF, talk about who's our partners, who, you know, where is this going to be seen, type of deal.
Yeah, well, the main thing, like I said, technically the third one, I would kind of call it like the first official one, and the first two kind of being like the pilot events, you know, to sort of test out the product and what's the word I'm looking for? Anyway, well, pilot is what they kind of were.
Yeah.
Because
A litmus test.
Yeah, and proof of concept and stuff like that. But after doing both those events, really buckling down and trying to refine how it's all structured. After the Mac and TAWF event, Ian making the point about the branding really stuck. So that was where I started being like, yeah, you know what, actually, and also then started doing a lot of research of how is the NFL structured? How is MLB structured? How is NBA structured? How does Major League Soccer structure their leagues? Doing research on that kind of stuff and starting right back from scratch, and then building it back up. And in doing that, realizing that the branding was a huge part of it. So then it was, okay, I'm going to pick where the 8 teams are going to be, and I'm going to pick the city and the name and have a reason for it, and so on and so forth. And Toronto Smoke was the first one that I came up with, and then I just kind of based everyone off that sort of outline of an idea. And one of the main things I based it on was where regions where I know that there are arm wrestlers and where there's a lot of arm wrestling that happens. So Montreal, Toronto, Calgary, Vancouver, and then Long Island, Detroit, and Tampa and Vegas. If you look at those cities, and if you look at like a relatively decent radius around them, think about like a reasonable driving distance. All those cities are there's a lot of arm wrestling around all those cities if you go like thinking in that kind of direction. So that was how I structured it, how I started building it back up. Once I had the cities figured out, then started figuring out the logos and building it from there, and also just refining the concept. But this one that's happening now in October is the first one where we implemented the draft, and the first one between any of these 8 teams that I come up with. So we just had the draft, and the results of that are now up on the website. So if you go to the TAWF website, which I'm pretty sure the little QR code you have up there, that takes to the website, I assume, Dan?
Yep, that's right to the website.
Yeah, so if you go to the website, there's like a Meet the Saints, Meet the Smoke button you can click on, or on the little drag down menu. And anyway, if you can go there and see the lineups and who was picked. But it was really cool doing the draft, and also now seeing the teams that are finally picked, because they're really competitive, and understanding how the game is going to go down. It's not obvious what the matchups are going to be. So it leaves for a lot of speculation of what are we going to see, what are the strategies that people are going to go with, and it's kind of cool. It was like, until the teams were actually defined, it was kind of like it was like a cloud of an idea. Like as soon as I did the draft and put out the teams, like people started messaging me like, oh, this is really cool. This is a great idea. I love this. Where before that moment, it was like people saw it and thought about it, but it was until they saw the teams, it wasn't like, oh, now I get it. And I feel like there's going to be a lot of those kind of epiphany moments, even with the people that I've been dealing with, like the managers, explaining how the game works and explaining the rules and everything to them. I've had to make the point. I'm like, don't feel bad if you have to ask questions, because this is like, I've thought about it a lot, and it's coming from my head, so I'm understanding it in a way that I might not explain it to make any sense. So please keep asking questions. And there was a moment with Christian, the manager for the Saints, before the draft, where he had asked me a couple questions, and I was like, man, I don't know if he's getting it yet. And then he asked me a question that was like really in depth, and I was like, oh fuck yeah, okay, he really gets it now. And those moments are just going to keep happening, which is a lot of fun.
So when it comes to the draft, because you mentioned the draft, that's something that's definitely different in the sport that we haven't seen as of yet. Can you go in a little more detail on that? How did you guys pick the teams, and how did they end up in the draft in the first place? How does one become a part of that?
Yeah, so because of the way the sort of arm wrestling community is around like Ontario and Quebec, and there's a lot of arm wrestling across the border between the two provinces there, and we know a lot of the same people, and it just kind of made sense, especially with the rivalries with other sports between, especially hockey and stuff, right, between Toronto and Montreal. It made sense to start with those teams, and because I'm here and because I know enough of the people around here and I'm close enough to everybody, I thought doing the draft would be a way to draw a lot of attention to it, and also really start to get the idea of the strategy implemented before the actual game even starts. Is like just even starting with picking your team, you have to start thinking about how does the game even work. And I think that worked, because, like I said, the managers now, they really understand how the game's going to work before they get there. I think they've really got a plan of what they're going to do, and they're going to have to make adjustments. I'm sure in the game there's going to be things that they thought were going to be one way that end up going another way or whatever. So, but just the fact that they're thinking about it to that level. But for some of the other preseason games, just as we're getting it going, I don't know how many times I'll be able to do a draft this way, but the idea would be, once the season is running in full, that there would be a draft, every every year, and it would be made up of like, you know, who did the best in no elimination tournaments or challenger series, or who's coming up on the provincial and state championship line. Like those are the names that are going to be at the top of the list, and then it would be going through the managers. So if, let's say, Dan is a manager in Long Island or in that area, it's going to be up to him to be on top of all the guys in that area who are the best, to then be like, okay, here's the 20 guys that I want to be eligible in the draft, and so on and so forth. And then in doing it that way, most of the guys are going to get picked by the people, like by the region that puts them, or the city that puts them in the draft, but they're all eligible. So then you start getting athletes crossing over and stuff. And
okay,
So
which
like,
is the idea, right? With pro sports, I want it just to be like, eventually I want people to be fighting for like the best middleweight lives in Long Island, and the first draft pick is everybody is trying to get that middleweight. And then it's also a matter of like contracts and who, you know, like I'm hoping that's the goal if it gets to that level, because that means there's enough money happening in the sport, that there's enough spectators, if there's sponsorship, that it's all that is growing to that level. So,
answer his question about how it started, though, about how we came about getting those names. Essentially, Tiny basically took the best pullers in Ontario and Quebec, and he
Yeah.
divided them up in weight categories, right? And
gotcha.
he selected, if you were like a guy who lived in, say, Ottawa, so you're technically halfway between Toronto and Montreal. So you got a name, or so you got a letter beside your name, which, or it would say both, right? So
Gotcha. Okay, so you could be considered for either one then, right?
you could, yeah, but some guys only had a T that meant only for Toronto, and some had an M that meant only for Montreal. But that didn't mean they got selected, right? So it was a big pool of guys, and I couldn't believe some of the names that were left out of the draft. Like
Yeah.
it was pretty crazy.
Yeah.
That is definitely involved. There's a definitely involved process that I'm excited to see more teammates and teams, like, you know, I want to see people like Team London on there, you know, at some point. I want to see, you know, New York Tri-State, you know, having a couple guys say, hey, listen, this guy would be amazing for this team, you know, the input in that.
And that's the thing is first of all, the format can be run, like people could do it like Team London versus team, like you guys could do it as a team versus team on your own, and use the same format. You can just do it like the same way you play a basketball game, you know? So that part is cool. And also, but then what you're saying, right off the bat, there was like Bryce and Nathan are both from, I can't pronounce it, Tenananga or something.
Tyandanega
Mohawk territory. And somebody from there posted like, yo, our boys are representing the Mohawk territory for Toronto. So it's like, already it's like, hey, if the smaller region is being represented by the city team that is known as like the bigger professional team. So now you have that representation going on there, and it goes up the ladder like that. But just to quickly go back to that point about being able to play it like a pickup game, another big hope of mine, and obviously, you know, if I could clone myself, I'd be doing it at the same time. But my plan is to work on it as things move forward. But this to me, the TAWF format is the format that would work to have the sport in high schools. This is how high schools could play each other, have a season where in the winter it's a high school sport, and you have 4 games throughout the 3 or 4 month season.
Yeah.
Your team is practicing during the week and doing your arm wrestling work, and then whoever makes the list goes to the game, and the game happens every 2 weeks or 3 weeks or whatever it is. Like, this is a format that would actually work where schools could play each other over the course of a season, and not just have like a single tournament at the end of the year or something like that, right?
Gotcha.
And again, that becomes more viable, more like a way that you can promote it, and again,
promote the rivalry and yeah,
way to work their way up.
when you actually see that, progress in the sport, you have that promotion of rivalry. You know what I mean? Just out of curiosity, because I want to make sure everyone has their questions answered. Steve, Team London, you guys had any questions on how this team Arm Wrestling Federation, is growing? Any questions of clarifications? Anything that you guys topics you wanted to talk about? Please feel free to chime in whenever you can, whenever you want.
Yeah.
No, I'm good.
I don't know. Like we've all competed at the no elimination tournaments, and we've all been getting out. I mean, the girls are probably more top level for you guys than us guys are just yet, based on how stacked those teams are. But we are very interested, and hopefully, eventually down the road, depending on how things go, it would be very cool to start like a London team, right? That would definitely be something we could talk about. But we love what's happening, and I love the idea of it getting into schools, because I mean, arm wrestling is getting into schools already. Like, we're hearing more and more about it being in high schools, so there's definitely interest there. And again, that's a great way to grow the sport, right? Like, if you're getting these young kids, these young impressionable, like the kids rejuvenate so freaking fast, and they learn so fast, and like, it's a whole nother talent that comes out of kids starting at that young of an age, and it can really help grow a sport, right? So I love the direction it's heading in. I love the ideas that Jason has for this, and we're excited to see where it goes for sure. And we're here to support it the whole way.
No worries, guys.
Oh, yeah.
I mean, you guys are hosting a no elimination, so even just on that front, like, that's shows the support, and it's any way we can grow the sport, right, or make it more approachable. So
absolutely. And honestly, that's the beautiful thing about this sport too, is like, that's the coolest thing when, and more so with, older guys saying like, oh, well, that's past me, right? Like, I'm too old to get into a sport like that. It's like, no, what you don't realize is arm wrestling's unique, right? Like, you can work a blue collar job for 40 years and you'll be better than a lot of arm wrestlers you'll come across at a typical practice, right? Like, it's something that you can get better at as you grow older, and at the same time incorporating these young youth, and just really bringing everybody together, and giving everybody a shot at competing at a serious level in the sport, right?
Well, and it's what's going to make the sport grow too, because it's like the younger the kids are that start it, the more experience they have, the more new things they're going to figure out about it, the more techniques, the more everything, and then it's the same thing with any like everybody, every star athlete in a sport now is a star based on the star they watched before, and as this sport grows, like we've all pretty much had John Brzezinski, and then a couple of like his offspring from what he did basically from there. But as the sport's going to grow, that's just going to get like more and more and more, you know what I mean? And so much of that comes from the fact, like John, I think a huge part of who he was because he started so young in a already like fully committed arm wrestling situation, like the family. So
Bless you, Steve.
I kick myself every day for not starting sooner.
Yeah, right. I wish I started sooner.
But again, the beautiful thing,
I spent 4 years arm wrestling instead of getting concussed in football. Man, I could be way ahead now.
Yeah, exactly. But it's like you said, even starting later, it's the kind of sport you can do really late and even get better at the older and older. That was definitely the first thing that really appealed me to it. I was like seeing these old guys competing, and I'm like, what the hell? And then, anyway, that was definitely one of the biggest appeals. Crazy George, the biggest.
My thing that I wanted to express that you had mentioned that they're hosting a no elimination format. To me is one of my favorite styles. Because
I was going to say that too. I love no elimination.
It's the best in my opinion, because you don't have to worry about going 0-2.
Yeah.
You get your experience, you get the ability to go ahead and compete as much as you want. You might be a stand-up puller, you might be slow to start. I'm lucky and blessed that I'm undefeated left-handed at the no elimination tournament. so far, and right-handed. The last one I went undefeated, but it gives you the opportunity to really, pull with different hands and grip up with different people.
Well, it's enticing for an athlete to come out to as well, because not only are you getting so many chances, like those chances make you feel like you're getting your money's worth, right? Like at a double elimination, you could get stacked up against the top two guys in your class right back to back off the get-go, and there's your day. And I mean, everything's getting more expensive, but arm wrestling tournaments especially, right? Like you go and you pay, 30, 40, 50 bucks for your arm, and then you just lost to the top two guys, and that's your day, like that's not an enticing thing to go out and compete at, right? But if you're getting to stack up against all your guys in your class and get that experience and, have that chance to maybe at the end you get something on a guy you wouldn't because he's burnt out and you have the endurance, right? Like it changes things and makes it, more enticing to come out and compete at for sure.
And to point earlier, the diversity, the diversity of options, I wanted to say was that, while I might go 0-2 at, like, say, a double elimination, right? That lights a fire into my ass for me personally. It lights a fire into my ass, and then I'm going to go ahead and enter no elimination, demolish everyone there, feel really good about myself, and then go back to that double elimination, and then maybe get faced off against those two guys again and do better because now I have that experience. So I like having the ability to go back and forth between both formats. So while one I prefer to compete at, for one reason, I do prefer the double elimination because there is that little bit of that risk and gain, risk reward concept, right?
Yeah, and in reality, like if you have 500 entries, like a no elimination would start getting kind of ridiculous with the way the matches work, in the sense of how long it would take, which is another reason why the MAC table and the MAC format is a good fit for it and everything. But and why we always do it where it's right to the set grip, obviously because it's MAC. But anyway, the double elimination definitely has its purpose still, like you're saying, because it's I would say it's more competitive in a sharpshooter kind of way. Like you got to nail it and be on in a double elimination. With the no elimination, it is, especially if it was stacked. Like if there's 20 people in your class in a no elimination, it's really going to come down to endurance, more so than like did you have the best hit, That's because there's going to be the finals as well and all that, right? So, but the double elimination definitely has its purpose, and like I said, once the tournaments get to huge entries, I do think that no elimination will get really lengthy. With if every class if every class has groups of 8 and an 8-man no elimination is no elimination really is just round robin. That's all it is. It's round robin, but with a format based into the round robin so that I don't have to have it pre-planned, but hey, it's a 6-man round robin. That's kind of how I came up with it, which I loved the round robin format. I started running round robin tournaments, and then one guy would drop out, 2 guys of this chain, that chain, and be like, he's fucking goddamn it. And then that forced me to come up. I'm like, I'm going to come up with a round robin format that it doesn't matter who shows up. I'm going to be able to run a round robin fucking tournament. And then that made me come up with a no elimination format, which is just a way of formulating it so that you can control it regardless of how many people show up. I've got a way to turn it into a round robin format and finalize it to a winner, where everybody gets the same number of pulls and it's as fair as possible. So, but yeah, it is for that reason, that to make it worth the value of the entry. Again, like another thing is, whenever we run no elimination, and we did a couple where we did amateur as well, and almost everybody just entered the amateur, which was kind of like, this is the whole point. The reason we did no elimination was so that everybody would just pull together, and then the amateurs could learn by getting beat up by all the pros, because they don't care if they lose 5 times in a row because they got to pull every single time. And which means they get to rip up with everybody, which, again, being a rookie and learning, one of the things I learned really quick was that the better the guy was that I gripped up against, the more I would learn, until he was like so much better that I didn't know what happened. But there was a good gap of like where you could learn a lot from the guy that's better than you. So it's worth ripping up with people
Absolutely.
that are better than you, because that's how you're going to learn. If you just go and you're always
and you have more
right? So
you have a larger pot to pull from of content that you would record yourself in a no elimination format, right? Over, because you pulling every single person in your class. There's some guys who didn't get an opportunity to pull, in a double elimination. And I wish I did have an opportunity to see how I tested up against them. Oh man, I wish I got to pull you. And then we of course we do it in after pull, but it doesn't hit the same way. You know what I mean? But I'm excited for all the events that are coming up. I think that we have a lot to look forward to in the sport of arm wrestling. A lot to look forward to. I wish Team London the best of luck on their first Challenger Series, and I wish Steve, I know I'm going to be there, so I'm going to help you make it the best King of the Tri-State 2 ever, and October 11th. I know we also have another event October 11th, Mr. America. So I just wanted to do a shout out to them, James Reed and Steve in Jersey, Atlantic City.
Atlantic City. Okay, yeah.
I think it's on Mac tables as well.
Yeah.
I think that's definitely something that for this sport is going to be good to have multiple entities utilizing similar equipment. I don't know exactly how that makes it look based on a previous conversation earlier on today, but I think that that's going to help grow the sport all in all. Uniformity and the ability to promote both entities, because not for nothing they check off different boxes, right? One's going to be at a fitness center, fitness festival, and the other one is going to be on a televised standalone, right? I think that we're going to cover. Oh, speaking before I forget, Tiny, you had mentioned. I had mentioned that there's a partner that we have with TAWF where it's going to be televised. How are they going to be able to see it? Where are they going to be able to view it? What's the partner that's enabling all of this?
Yeah. Well, so we did. If for anybody watching that doesn't know, we got a broadcast deal with Fight Network, so it's going to be on Fight Network and Game Plus on all their platforms. So it'll be on the Fight Network YouTube. It'll be on the Fight Network channel in the U.S. and in Canada. So I think in the U.S. it's through DirecTV, and then up here it's on most providers. You subscribe to it. But it'll also be on our YouTube, on the Table Monkeys YouTube channel. So it's free access. Everybody's going to be able to watch it. And then the Fight Network's also going to play a replay of it at some point later in the year. And then based on how this event goes, we'll be talking hopefully more with them for the future events. But yeah, I've been in talks with them. They like the idea. They're going to be there in person to watch it. So it's
that's exciting.
Pretty awesome opportunity, and super grateful for the opportunity, and I think that we're going to do our best to deliver the best product possible. We have a super talented audio video team working on the project. If anybody remembers when we did East vs. West qualifier at the Alma Combo, the production crew that we used for them, and the same production crew that we used for TAWF 1 when Ian competed. But the TAWF 1, the venue and everything was a little clunkier than this one. This one we're way more dialed in. So and now this is the third time I've been working with this guy. And he's worked with Fight Network and stuff before. He does a lot of boxing and MMA broadcasts, so he's used to live and combat and stuff. So he's picked up kind of how to film and where to hit the cameras and stuff. And the last time we talked and did the site visit, I'm pretty confident with the setup that we've got going, and we should be able to get a really good live feel in the room. Plus have a good live stream feed. So
Exciting. No, definitely going to be exciting to be a partner with the Fight Network. Steve, where can people find the live stream for King of the Tri-State 2?
It's gonna be on my Facebook and YouTube channel. You're gonna be obviously live streaming. You always do. And it's getting better and better and better every single time. So yeah, we're gonna
I'm
be
looking forward to that.
yeah, we're gonna be in Danbury, Connecticut, 15 Milestone Road, um, Danbury, Connecticut. It's Hotel 0 Degrees. It's an absolutely gorgeous hotel. We're taking up the whole venue there, so it's I mean 5-star restaurant inside. There'll be meatballs,
Wow.
pasta, Italian combos. I mean it's gonna be free food.
Sorry, Jason, I'm going there.
That's the 20th.
Yeah,
Oh, my
that's
bad.
coming out on the
Sorry, London. Sorry,
Go.
London. I'm going where the meatballs are. I'm going.
So
I'll be in London.
now, London, where can they view it? The Challenger Series that you guys are going to be having.
So it's going to be live streamed on the Major Arm Wrestling Championships YouTube channel, as well, hopefully, as the London Team London YouTube channel, and potentially Facebook, Instagram. We'll see about that, but for sure you can find it YouTube, Major Arm Wrestling Championships, and Team London YouTube.
So
Go check it out.
if you guys are on Facebook, you will be seeing me post all of the events, where to view them. If you follow me on Facebook, please, Daniel Schwartz. If you're on Facebook and you want to follow me on YouTube, it's The Nightmare. We want to make sure we highlight each and every one of these. Share across all platforms. I want to see everyone being successful, not just by in-person attendance, which I'm sure there will be, but I want to see every person here that have viewerships that, skyrocket the exposure of the sport, because that's what this is all about.
100%.
Yeah, I agree.
Well said.
Good luck, Team London.
We got room for just over 500 people in our venue, man, and we're hoping to pack it. So
There you go.
come check it in.
That'd be awesome.
That would
I
be
don't know,
awesome.
Steve, can we actually, I know already have it locked down, but can we just move the hotel in there? Because then we can have the events in the same place. 500 people can accommodate both of them.
If I could go to Canada, I would.
You gotta look
Teleportation.
into that. They offer pardons, so you should. We'd love to have you. Go get a pardon.
I know, right? I should.
All right, well, ladies and gentlemen, thank you so much for everybody who's tuned in. Stay tuned for next week's episode of Collaborate Pull Together. We're going to have some more special guests and maybe some people who are going to be competing at next week, the following weekend's events. Any questions from the group that are on screen? Any questions from the chat? Feel free to ask them. We're going to be ending the show, but I really do appreciate each and every one of you sharing your Tuesday evening with me.
No
All right.
problem.
Thanks for having us.
All right, thanks.
Thank you for having us.
Thank you, guys. Appreciate it.
I'll
Have a
see you.
good night, everybody.
Good night.